Welcome back into another episode of Infamously Speaking. I'm Matt. That's Quan. We're here to talk about NFL Divisional Round of the playoffs, talk about championship weekend. Quan's Patriots back to the AFC Championship game for the first time in feels like 2 seconds ago, to be honest with you. We'll talk that. We'll talk Rams, Seahawks, and a whole bunch of other things. Keon Coleman, Bills drama. I found those comments to be quite interesting. We'll jump into that. What's next for Houston and CJ Stroud? We'll get into that a little bit as well, and then just see where that takes us. But as always, if you're not already subscribed to the Infamously Speaking YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to us right here, please go ahead and do that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the follow button. Make sure you get notified. Turn those notifications on so you don't miss any content, especially as we gear up through these NFL playoffs. Quan, my guy, how's it going?
Going great, man. Good to be back. Good to be back on the show. Good to be back in the AFC Championship. It's good to be back.
Let's just start right there. Obviously, we're going to look ahead to Patriots Broncos. But I want it's not initial because the game happened on Sunday. It's Wednesday, January 21st as we record this. But I want your reaction to what we saw on Sunday, the Patriots dominating performance.
To be honest with you, I didn't even dissect the game like I normally do. But I enjoyed the fact that we pulled out a win. It wasn't pretty, but I like those gritty wins. I think it's a testament to a heart of a champion. Now, I know people will be like, oh, Quan sounds corny because it's the Patriots and, he's dragging it a little bit. But realistically, I like wins like that because, again, it's a testament to how they're going to respond. And people forget for some reason, the Texans defense was the real deal. With that pass rush and those corners, they've been performing at a high level all season. Without that defense, I don't think the Texans even had a chance to be in where they got or to get into where they got. I know that Stroud played a horrific game, but I thought it wasn't just Stroud once again, kind of like what we talked about all season, where there was some plays where they were just getting dominated. There was that pass that Stroud threw off his back foot while getting hit. Milton Williams blew that play up because he knocked the lineman right into the tight end and made him fall. He didn't have an outlet. People overlook that. They just look at the stats, I feel like, and they say, oh, yeah, Stroud cost him the game. But I think it was more than that. And people are going to be surprised, which is crazy to me, on how great our defense is. I seen a stat or a picture. It was it's like the top 5 or top 6 defenses of all postseason. It was aligned with the Baltimore Ravens, the Giants. I think it was the Seahawks too. The defense been performing at a high level. And as much as I have been enjoying Drake May's run for this possible MVP, I'm just as ecstatic to see the defense get some credit for what they deserve and what they earn.
Yeah, I found this game to be super interesting and just this postseason run as a whole, because I think if you look at Drake May's entire season, these last 2 weeks might have been, maybe except for the first 2 weeks of the season, maybe his worst football that he's played from a numbers perspective, definitely with turning the ball over, right? Fumbles against Los Angeles, fumbles against Houston, but yet the Patriots are dominating. And like you said, it starts with the defense. And now I get it. A lot of people are going to say, well, it was the Chargers' offensive line, which of course has been banged up throughout the entire season. It's Houston's offensive line, which of course is not known for being great. But we talked about this when we talked about the Patriots. Great teams beat down on teams that are bad, undermanned, whatever it is. They dominate. And that's what the Patriots have done throughout these 2 postseason games. And for all the issues that Drake May has had, he stepped up with corresponding really great plays. Like that first touchdown pass on 4th down to Pop was a dart. The pass to Booty, obviously, on Stingley. Phenomenal catch by Booty. Great throw by Drake. The throw to Diggs. Fantastic throw. So he's just showing you that, man, this guy, number one, he's going to be a threat for years to come. He's special. But what the Patriots are showing is that even if they're not getting MVP level play from their quarterback, they're still dangerous. And even if Drake's not having the best of games by his standards, he still has 3 to 4 to 5 MVP type throws or plays in them every game. And he's shown that every game in this postseason.
That's a great call out. I was gonna say that another statistic that I saw was I think Drake May's the only quarterback to throw 3 touchdowns on that Texans defense.
Yep.
At that level, right? You talk about big games, big throws, and big games.
Bad weather
when
too.
It counted. Bad weather. That throw to Booty, phenomenal catch, but that placement was unbelievable.
Only he could catch it.
The bullet to Diggs, it was
phenomenal.
Like you said, we have a great future in place.
Absolutely.
Omar mentioned Campbell getting beat, Will Campbell, right? But I'm like, bro, you're acting like just anybody's beating him. Like that's an all pro. You know what
Will
I mean?
Anderson.
Like, yeah,
it's Will Anderson.
What are we talking about right now?
I mean, now granted, Denver, you're facing a pass rush in Denver, which has generated the most sacks this entire season. So they're going to have to get that figured out. But another thing that was encouraging was your ability, especially later in the game, to run the ball. I think that was one of the most impressive drives of the day was when you guys were pinned deep in your own end zone. Great punt by Houston. And you didn't score, but you were able to get it out to like the 45-yard line or something like that. Kill a ton of clock.
Yeah, ran the clock out.
And then pinned Houston, deep in their own field. So really flip field position against what was a dominant, again, like you called out, just an absolutely dominant Houston defense. So I love what's happening in New England. Now let's look to the flip side of it. Houston, obviously CJ Stroud's getting killed. There's people talking about they should have benched him. You got some folks over there at the worldwide leader of sports talking about they would have won with 31 other quarterbacks, which I think is highly disrespectful to CJ Stroud, extremely disrespectful to the Patriots defense, which has been playing at another level. If you're Houston, what do you need to do to be able to capture that magic that they had that first season? Do you think it's just...
That's easy.
Yeah, what's the deal there?
You got to get a line. You have to get a line. You have to protect them. Out of all people, I think I should know that, right? Because Drake struggled last year. We made some off-season add-ons, and then we had, obviously, Will Campbell from the draft. You got to protect them. People forget, too, like, Nico Collins was out. All-pro wide receiver, right? Like, he definitely would make an impact. Because Schultz got out early in the game. So he lost his 2 primary weapons. I think Stroud's taking a lot of heat for that, but I think Stroud's a great quarterback. He's a really good quarterback, I'll say.
He definitely looked jittery in the pocket this game, but that's because the Patriots were able to put pressure on him, to your point. I agree. I don't think Nico Collins has missed a decent amount of time in his career. I mean, that just is what it is. We're not even talking about the fact that Tank Dell didn't play at all this season. To your point, Schultz going out. They even lost their backup tight end, Stover, right? He got hurt in the second half. So I agree with you. I don't think what we saw CJ's rookie year was just a flash in a bottle. I think moving off from the OC this season, that was interesting, coming into the season. And again, just the injuries, not just to the offensive line though, but to the skill position players. So I think they'll be fine with that defense. I mean, I think the thing is he doesn't need to be rookie season CJ Stroud, right? With that defense for them to be great. But he definitely doesn't look nearly as confident in the pocket, but getting lit up the way that he does, I mean, that'll do it for you.
I was gonna say, how confident could you be? We literally watch plays, you and I, where he snaps the ball and he's getting sacked. We've seen it this season. Granted, they did have a little turnaround. We talked about that last episode, and Davis Mills he played a good part in that. Actually, they had a big win against the Colts, I believe, because of Davis Mills, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think it was the Jags, right? That big comeback against the Jags.
And he ran the touchdown at the end. Was it the Jags?
Yeah.
But anyways, it's hard to have confidence when you feel like you don't have any time. And again, people, you can act like you were going to overlook it, but that Patriots defense to me is elite. It reminds me of the older Patriots when Vrabel and all them were on there, just scrappy plays. I know that fumble didn't count when Gonzalez stripped, I think it was Higgins. He was already down. But like those plays of looking for turnovers and making something happen, it's like, it's reminiscent. In fact, I know I was texting you when Jones kind of, it was a big down and he gave up the touchdown to the Texans, and I was pissed. But I wasn't upset because I like him as a player and what he's capable of doing, not just on defense, but on special teams. And of course,
Absolutely.
shortly after he gets that pick six, right? Which was big to me because we wasn't guaranteed to score against that defense. Even if we was within the 5 yards, I wasn't like extremely confident. So for him to have that, return for a touchdown, put some points on the board, I think that was a good momentum shift as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thought about this game. We'll move on to another one. Over these past 2 games, I've been extremely impressed with the Patriots' ability to manage their run defensively. We talked about that was an opportunity for them going into the playoffs, and we knew that the Chargers were going to try to hit that. And obviously, Texans wanted to hit that, to give CJ time, but also because Woody Marks had a phenomenal game against Pittsburgh the week before, right? 100-yard effort. So I've been really impressed with that, and I think they're going to have to continue to do that, especially with Jarrett Stidham playing quarterback in the AFC Championship game. I'm sure that Sean Payton is going to want to get the running game rolling to keep balance so that the Patriots can't just hunt.
Oh, they have to. Denver's going to have to do that. The thing is, I actually seen another stat. It was, I believe it was Milton Williams, and I forgot who the other player was. But whenever them two were in the lineup, we're undefeated when they're in the lineup together. But because of injuries, obviously one plays, the other one doesn't. But I was like, that's pretty telling, right? When you're fully healthy, our defense is even more dangerous. You know who else is impressive to me is Ellis, the linebacker.
Yeah, he flies all over the field.
All over the field, bro. I love it.
He was making plays everywhere. All right, let's move to another game before people think this is a Patriots podcast. I swear it's not. So let's talk. That was the Sunday game. We can go back to Saturday. Let's talk the other AFC divisional game. This was probably the game of the weekend. Bills at Broncos. I did a little 5-minute TikTok video about this, but I'm sure you've seen all the controversy around it, the no calls and Buffalo, that was a catch, and even their their owner said it earlier in his press conference. That's why we're home was a blown call. So what I said in my little, I'm not really a rant because I picked Buffalo, as you know. Credit to you, you got that game right, picking Denver. I was like, the reason why Buffalo shouldn't be complaining is because Buffalo had the opportunity to put the game away before that would have ever come into play. Buffalo was up 1 point with the ball within the Denver at minimum the 10, but I think it was within the 5. And on third down, Josh Allen has Khalil Shakir on the outside on a little wide receiver screen. And he skips the ball and it hits the ground. If Shakir catches it, it looks like he walks into the end zone. And at that point, at minimum, they're up 7. If they kick the extra point, you're up 8. Now Denver has to score a touchdown, which they did, but then go for 2 to tie. Or if Buffalo's hyper aggressive, they can go for 2 and go up 9. And then Denver's hopes are dead. And yet you don't convert. And then on the touchdown, on the field goal drive before overtime to tie the game, that's what Buffalo did. They tied the game at 30. Josh Allen misses his tight end over the middle of the field. He would have walked in for a touchdown. Instead, they have to kick the field goal, goes to overtime. Where, by the way, the Buffalo defense holds Denver. So now Buffalo only needs a field goal, and that's where the interception happens. So if I'm Buffalo, I'm kicking myself.
You had the opportunities.
They committed 4 turnovers in Denver and still had a chance to win the game at the end, and they blew it.
So I missed that game, but I did hear the controversial call with the pass interference, the interception. I didn't know it went down to the wire like that. I did see they hit overtime. My question to you is Josh Allen getting any slack for that? Missing the tight end. Why did he skip the ball to Shakir?
He just threw it low. It's a bad throw. I think the only person that's giving Josh Allen heat is Josh Allen. He goes to the podium, clearly emotional. It's like, I failed. It was on me because he turned the ball over. I'm not sure if you saw his fumble at the end of the first half, but they're on maybe around their own 30, and he runs. He takes off like a 9-yard gain. He's about to get tackled, and he just pitches the ball backwards, like inexcusably, kind of like his first playoff game against Houston that people bring up, where he just threw the ball backwards. Did something really similar. Denver falls on the ball with 2 seconds left to end the half, and they're able to kick a field goal, get 3 points, and you end up losing by 3. Now, we don't know how that changes the course of the game because it was only the first half, but he was trying to take the blame, and everybody was blaming other things, the referees, missed calls, controversy. It's like, you had the chance. It was in your hands. Now, my question to you, because we always heard the narrative coming into this postseason, like, this is the Bills' chance. There's no Joe Burrow. There's no Lamar Jackson. There's no Patrick Mahomes. When is it ever going to be their time? Or has that time passed? Especially now with the uprising of these younger quarterbacks in the AFC.
It's over, man. There's a new sheriff in town. Drake May is here to stay. We got a coach. We got a quarterback. We have a defense. We have an organization. It's over.
Yeah.
The Bills' best chances when they lost the 3 Super Bowls back in, the 90s?
4 of them, back to back to back to back.
It was 4?
Yeah,
Jeez.
4 straight. I think what's really interesting about it all is, one, this new overtime that Buffalo just played, that we see now in the NFL and just in general, but especially in the postseason, right? Both teams get to possess the ball. Was because of the Buffalo Bills. Was because of that 13-second game where Patrick Mahomes got the field goal and then they walked it off, right? And the Bills never got to touch the ball. Do you know that the Bills, they're either 0-6 or 0-7 in overtime with Josh Allen as their quarterback?
That's crazy.
They've never won an overtime game. Never. And there was only one time where he didn't get to touch the ball, and that was the Patrick Mahomes game.
Mm-hmm.
So this rule was made for them, and they still couldn't capitalize. So I don't know if it's completely closed because Josh Allen is that guy. But here's another crazy stat while we're talking about crazy stats.
But is he that guy? You just gave me a reason to say he's not that guy.
No, he's that guy. He's that guy. But the roster, that has to be one of the least talented offensive rosters removing the quarterback in the NFL.
James Cook was like the leading running back, wasn't he?
If you were to rank the Buffalo Bills offensive players in order of importance, it would probably be Josh Allen, James Cook. There are 5 offensive linemen. There are 2 tight ends.
Nah, Kincaid is receivers.
Nice. Kincaid is good. They have no talent on the outside.
I'll take the Bills roster over the Chargers.
Wow.
I would.
Man, that's a good discussion.
In the playoffs?
That's surprising.
That's why. I think it starts with the line. It starts with the line.
That's your boy Herbie. And you're saying you're going to take the Bills?
Yeah, because it starts with a line.
I agree.
How difficult it is to do anything without a line.
I agree. Here was the other crazy stat I was going to say. Was with Sean McDermott being fired, the longest tenured coach in the AFC East is Mike Vrabel. Because the Dolphins also fired Mike McDaniel, I think his name is.
Who's going to the Chargers?
Fired. Who's going to the Chargers? Everybody's excited about that. I'm like, what does it matter if you can't get anybody to block?
Yeah.
What does it matter?
Yeah. Well, they have a good line when they're healthy.
Well, listen. When's the last time they were healthy? 3 seasons ago? And even then, still couldn't do nothing. So let's talk about Denver, Patriots opponent. Obviously, they win the game. Major news, Bo Nix breaks bones in his ankle.
When did he do that? Like, what part of the game?
This is second to last play, I believe. So it was the play, I think, before they were trying to spot the ball for the game-winning field goal. So it's like
so they was trying to spot the ball. Oh, the play before you spotted the
play before it. Yeah, I believe that was the play that they said. That's what Sean Payton said in the press conference after. So Jarrett Stidham gets to start against the Patriots. I believe he has either 3 or 4 career starts. Last one, I believe, was 2 or 3 years ago. Former Patriot, by the way, Jarrett Stidham. I believe New England is a 5.5-point favorite in this game.
I hate that.
Of course, I know you do. So my questions to you, keys of the game for New England to be advancing to the Super Bowl and be the champs of the AFC. What needs to happen?
Play like we are the underdogs, right? Don't take this game for granted. It's one and done out here, so you can't take shit for granted. I actually tell people, like, Jared, you talk about, I think we talked about this last episode, where you're playing with, like, house money. You could just go out there and sling the ball around. The other thing is there's not much tape on him, right? So it's harder to prepare, in my opinion. Denver's really going to have to, like you said, establish the run, kind of take the pressure off of Stidham, and he's just going to have to make plays and not turn the ball over, because that defense is really good. But I think this is going to be one of the games where Drake May separates himself once again and proves, like, I am the MVP and the best quarterback in this league.
Wow. I would add one thing for the Patriots, and it's just limit the turnovers.
Yeah.
Limit the turnovers. He can't have that the fumbling game like he did against Houston. Especially because you're in Denver, obviously notoriously tough place to play. They've been fantastic this season at home. I'll take Denver side of the ball. How does Denver walk away being the AFC champions?
Oh, my fault. I kind of did that.
No, it's fine, but it's pressuring the heck out of Drake May. He's shown that he hasn't been able to take care of the ball these playoffs. Keep that trend going. You got a fantastic pass rush. Let your corners do what they do and be aggressive getting after Drake May. Force them to become one-dimensional. Do not let Henderson and Stevenson start popping off. And I think you have a good form. And then also remain balanced on offense. This cannot be a game where you get down and if Jared Stidham needs to be the savior of the game. That can't happen. Balanced attack. You have great backs. RJ Harvey's a threat. Take your shots when they're there, especially if you get a run game going. I like play action. Cortland Sutton, who's super underrated receiver. Then, Sean Payton's going to have to call a fantastic offensive game.
And
Make
Sean
it easy
Payton
for Stidham.
Yep, Sean Payton can, right? He's an offensive genius. I think the only chance Denver has is if Sean Payton calls Drew Brees.
Drew Brees can't even throw football, I don't think. I think he says he has to throw with his left arm now because his shoulder is so fucked up.
Phillip Rivers, but he came back.
He almost beat the Seahawks.
No, I just want the Patriots to be focused on this game. And then we'll figure it out once we get to the thing. I don't think so either.
Where Vrabel is your coach?
The reason being is, huh?
So with Vrabel as your coach?
I was just about to say that. Like, Vrabel's going to make sure they're focused and they understand the job is not done. It's not even close, actually.
Not even close. You still got 8 quarters of football you want to play. 4 this weekend, 4 2 weekends from now. I think we both got New England in this game, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the NFC side of the bracket. We won't spend too much time on San Francisco, Seattle. I mean, that just was what it was. We know what it was. That defense in Seattle is legit. That Rashid Shaheed trade's paying off. He scored just as many points as the Niners did on the first play of the game. And for the 49ers, they're just so banged up. I don't even think they stood a chance, to be completely honest with you. So we could just skip over that game. We could talk Bears-Rams. Now, the obvious thing to jump to would be that incredible Caleb Williams 4th down play, where off his back foot, he just kind of heaves it up and is able to get it out to Cole Kmet. But I'm curious. Let's talk about Chicago real quick first. Phenomenal season under Ben Johnson. You know, credit to you. You're like, that's going to be a home run hire. I was a little skeptical of that right away, but they obviously win the NFC North, second seed, play the Rams to a really close game in Chicago. What do you think the future is in Chicago? Do you think this is just the start of something real special in Chicago? Tough division, or do you think this was kind of like this was their best chance and they let one slip away?
That's a great question. I think it's too early to determine that, if I'm being quite honest. I like what they have going, right? They have I guess you could say a future quarterback with Caleb. He's been playing better this year.
They definitely have.
They have the coach. They have the coach, right? And it's not like there's one team that's super dominant in that division. If you were to say one, you'd say the Lions, but
they fell off.
They digressed, like we kind of talked about with losing Ben Johnson. So I don't think it's over for them. I don't think this is necessarily their best chance. Obviously, it's their best chance they had in quite some time. And we're not really used to seeing them there, so we're like, all right, maybe they're, it was flash in the pan kind of thing. But I think they have a good foundation to build on that gives them some experience for the playoffs. But also, they had a lot of close games where they had to fight their way back, and they showed that resilience, which I think will also play a part in their future. So they obviously have talent with the young receivers, the tight end, Loveland. So do I think this was their best chance? Yes, because it's been so long, but I think that division is still wide open for them to get back next year for sure.
Yeah, I love what you called out. They definitely have their quarterback, no doubt. And I was a little bit more of a Caleb skeptic. And I think it was because of the fact that of what the expectations were coming out of college, how people were billing him to be this next great quarterback. But he showed you throughout the season what's possible with him under center. He had a fantastic run in this game. Like I said, that throw on fourth down was ridiculous. So the talent is clearly there. He just needs to clean up things like accuracy, making sure he's on the same page with his receivers, right? That's all things that, as you become more ingrained in the offensive system with Ben Johnson, and just get more time on task with the receivers, I think that cleans it up. I really like their running back situation with Swift and Monunga. I think that's a fantastic 1-2 punch. And what really impressed me in this game about Chicago was their defense. They didn't log a single turnover, I don't believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that was kind of their calling card all season, right? They needed turnovers to be in games. They didn't log a single one. In fact, they lost a turnover battle, I think it was 3-0 because Caleb threw 3 picks. And they still took it to OT with the chance to win. He just throws that pick, and then Stafford, they get in position for the field goal. I agree with the things are looking up in Chicago for sure.
No. But I will say, if the Rams play the way they have been in these playoffs, they're all set against Seattle. They're all set. If they continue to play the way they've been playing, they're not going to beat Seattle. It's not going to happen.
Obviously, I picked the Rams in the NFC. And look at Matt Stradamus. That's working out well. We won't talk about the AFC. We'll talk about the NFC. That's working well. But there are concerns going into this game. Like I said, when we talked about Seattle for about 2 seconds, that defense is the real deal. That defense is the real deal. They fly to the ball. They're good on all 3 levels. Kenneth Walker had a game, so that's scary. My only concern about Seattle is the guy who sees ghosts. That's it.
I know.
That's it. He didn't have to be good last game. He didn't have to be. He's going to have to be good against the Rams, I think. Like, Sam Darnold. I mean, late in the fourth quarter against the Rams and in overtime when they came back and beat them, he's going to need to play that way, I think, the entire game for them to win the game. To win. Yeah, I think he can't have another crazy turnover game.
He can have a 2 turnover game and win. in my
Yeah,
opinion.
because they can get Stafford twice. That defense can get Stafford a couple times. Force a fumble, pick whatever. I mean, I believe in that defense.
All right, so who do you got for this game?
I got to go with the pick that I've been picking this entire time. I got to go with the Rams.
I like the Rams, too. I don't want to pick them, but I'm going to pick the Rams.
No,
Only because of the
cooked.
quarterback situation.
We're cooked. We're cooked. Congratulations, Seattle.
All I got to do is put some money on it.
Yes, sir.
It's over. I just believe in Stafford more. I think Jason's a hell of a wide receiver, but Puka, I've always been on the
Puka's different.
bandwagon. Like
Puka's different.
I think the Patriots have a better chance. Actually, I'm lying. I think it doesn't matter. I think it's ours to win. It's ours to win.
I actually would like the Patriots more against the Rams than I would against Seattle.
Why?
Because Sam Darnold could move a little bit.
Got you.
Matt Stafford is that's how they got CJ so much. Because CJ, for whatever reason, thinks he's like the premier pocket passer. So
CJ ran on one play, and I'm like, "Fuck, that's the last thing I want to see."
Yeah, right. Like, man, he could be effective when he gets out. He just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Like
he got a big first down on that play.
Mm-hmm. Huh? We've seen Sam be mobile.
Yeah.
Stafford's not gonna be mobile.
The good thing about Sam though is that he's gonna remember the ghost when he sees that Patriots jersey on the other side.
Could be. Either way, it'd be interesting to see that.
Look at me getting ahead. I just told my coach and my team to not get ahead of the game.
That's fine, but you don't play for them.
I think either team though would be a good matchup, to be honest.
100%. 100%. Because the story's been Patriots easy road to the Super Bowl. That's the story.
Yeah.
They had to play.
Is there really an easy road to the Super Bowl though?
Banged up Chargers team. CJ Stroud. Is he really even good? Is he really even good? And he didn't even have his top targets. Oh, now they're playing the Broncos. Jared Stidham. So, either way,
actually, I want the Rams because if we play the Seahawks, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he played Sam Darnold." So I want the Rams.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like the Chargers' defense was pretty good. The Texans' defense is obviously phenomenal.
That's what people are also forgetting.
The Denver defense is very good, and the Rams' defense not so much. After the second part of the season, but obviously Seattle's defense is ridiculously dominant. Number one scoring defense. So we got the same picks. Now let me throw this at you just to see if this will change your pick. I believe this is either the fourth or the fifth time that the number one scoring defense has met the number one scoring offense in a championship game. The number one scoring defense is undefeated all time. Either they're 3-0 or 4-0. Doesn't change your pick.
No, not at all.
I just wanted to just throw that stat out to see if his history, would sway you at all. No. To get off the Rams pick because I don't want you to curse them, but it seems like they're cursed. So
no.
Sweet. Well, I know some people at my office are gonna get me for not picking the hometown Seahawks, but if there's anybody on that field, any unit that you trust the least, it'd have to be the one led by Sam Darnold. That's just.
I agree.
That's just that. So I want to talk about a couple of things that I thought was interesting around sports, and one of them was this whole drama that's going up in Buffalo. I find it quite fascinating.
I could tell
because they're playing like the blame game, and so for those that don't know, the Bills fired their longtime coach Sean McDermott after another disappointing end to their season. And so their owner, Terry Pagula, and Brandon Beane, who's their GM. By the way, they promoted the GM and let go of the coach. They have a press conference talking about kind of the state of the team and where things are at. And what I found really interesting, I forgot where I read this. There's an article that the rift between McDermott and the Bills front office started earlier in the season or like later in the regular season before the playoffs. where McDermott had concerns about the roster, saying he didn't feel like the roster was really good enough to go on a Super Bowl run. I'm just paraphrasing right here. So I just wanted to pause there. What's your initial thoughts to that? The coach saying, hey, I'm not really sure if we have the roster to go all the way.
I think that it's a shame that he got clipped for speaking his truth. Like he knew it, like he's there. He's there. He's in the trenches with them every day. And he's looking at what's on the field, and he's saying, this is not a roster that's going to take us to the promised land. So because he says that, you feel some type of way. You put him in that position to analyze that roster and make those kind of, decisions, right? So instead of feeling some type of way, the upper leadership should have been like, all right, what can we do to make sure that you're more confident that we can make it to the promised land? But instead, they played the blame game, which it never ends well when you do that. There's no accountability being had.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you promote the guy who assembles the roster, even though I think we both feel like on the offensive side of the ball, there's opportunity, especially at the wide receiver position.
For sure.
And, it's almost like, like when Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback at Green Bay for all those years and they never spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver. Now, granted, they got Devontae Adams in the second round, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. When they got Diggs, right? They made the move for Diggs. But since he's been gone, it's kind of been a revolving door at receiver for Buffalo. They haven't found an answer. They draft Keon Coleman, which we'll get to in a second, thinking that would be a good answer. That hasn't been. They bring in Brandon Cooks this year. They brought back Gabe Davis, who had that great playoff game. Shakir is really their consistent outside threat, but he's not the big play down the field guy that you need, especially when you have a strong arm quarterback like Josh Allen. So I just found it interesting that the guy who assembles the roster keeps the job when clearly a lack of talent on the outside is what killed you. That's one. Got clipped for telling his truth is crazy. But I agree. I mean, you should be able to feel comfortable going to your leadership like, hey, listen, I'm not saying I'm not going to coach him up, but this looks sus. Do you think that he's trying to protect himself in doing that though? Or do you think he's just like, yo, we got to be real with ourselves?
So I wasn't in the room, so I can't tell you, right, for sure. But I feel like it's just being, like I said, just being real with the situation. Like, with what we're going into the playoffs with, this is not it. We'll be lucky to make it to the AFC Championship game.
Do you think that because Mahomes wasn't in the playoffs and the Ravens didn't make the playoffs with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow weren't in the playoffs, do you think that led or kind of played a big part in a decision like this, where it's your main obstacles that have stopped you from getting to your ultimate goal?
So I'm sure it did, because we heard the noise. I'm sure as a human, you hear that, and it's in your mindset at that point. But
right,
I would challenge that, because those weren't your obstacles. You didn't win your division, so your obstacle was in your division, right? Now,
that's
granted, you went 1-for-1, but you need to worry about that.
Fact.
So I get it, because throughout these last few years, it was either Lamar, Josh, or Burrow, and then Mahomes, obviously. So they felt like, okay, the elite quarterbacks are out of the way. We should have a better chance. But realistically, you didn't. They didn't have a great season. How many times we got on this after we watched football, we're like, the Bills look terrible. The only reason why you had belief in them was Josh Allen. But we know that one quarterback is not going to win. It could win you a game, right, or two, but it's not going to win you a Super Bowl.
Nah.
I can't think of one quarterback that just won the Super Bowl. As much as I love Tom Brady as the GOAT, I can't even say just him won a Super Bowl. 28-3 comeback, obviously he played a big part in that, but that defense came up
stepped
with
up.
some exactly. So to your point, they need talent around him as well.
Yeah. So let's talk Keon Coleman for a second. I know that we talked about him on the show. Much maligned Bills wide receiver who just
I run better routes than Keon Coleman. What are we talking about?
Who just hasn't been what Buffalo thought he was going to be. Now, the reason why we bring up Keon Coleman, not because we love talking about him so much and his fantasy value, is because there was some interesting commentary made. And so I'm just going to read the quote here. This is from Bills owner, Terry Pegula. In the press conference, he said, "I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon, who's the GM, wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff who felt strongly about the player. He's taken for some reason heat over it and not saying a word about it, but I'm here to tell you the true story." Now, that would be a wild statement on its own because Keon is still employed by the Buffalo Bills. So you're saying that the person who's in charge of talent evaluation and building a roster didn't want the player, and the player's still on your roster. So that's one way to strain a relationship. But then videos surface of them, through the draft process, and Brandon being the GM is clearly high on Keon Coleman, saying that he's happy he ran this for a 40. It'll help his case for drafting him. That he went to bed one night because the Bills drafted him in the second round, knowing that they were going to pick Keon with that pick unless somebody made them a good deal to trade that pick away. So not only did you disrespect the player, disrespect the former coach, you also lied to the national media to protect this guy who's done a pretty bad job of building a roster. Insane. Now, let me ask you this. If you're a coach, because that job's open, and the people are like, this is like the premier job. John Harbaugh was regretting taking the Giants job. After seeing stuff like that from the upper levels of leadership there, how enticing is that to you as a head coach?
Not at all. Not at all. It's one thing to battle with the players and all the personalities and egos, but then to have to go into a situation with turmoil, that's a whole nother ballgame. That's like going to a company you just know was going to treat you like shit or just has a bad reputation.
That's funny. No, I agree. That shit is crazy. Crazy.
So they're not helping. In my opinion, they're not helping their chances of landing someone who, of stature, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I just think if I was, let's say John Harbaugh hadn't made his decision up. If I'm John Harbaugh, who had a little power struggle in the Giants jobs because he didn't want to report right to the Giants GM, he wanted to report right to the owners. If I'm going and I'm looking, or if I'm Mike Tomlin and I want to come out of retirement and coach because Josh Allen's available, I'm looking at that and saying, what the fuck is a clown show going on over there? This guy doesn't really even know how to build a great roster. And you got the owner trying to defend him. And then you find out that the coach, there was a rift because he was trying to be honest about what he saw. I don't know.
That's why the Bulls were.
He might go back.
Yeah, I seen the report.
Yeah, listen, Josh's best
clown to add to that circus.
If we didn't blow all those fourth quarter leads, he'd still have a job probably. Now I'm curious. Okay, let's talk about this real quick, because a lot of Giants fans. I'm curious if you've gotten to kind of chat about it at all. What's the vibe around that? Around the Harbaugh hiring?
Oh, they love it. They think it's a game changer.
I love it too, by the way.
They think that they think that's what's going to potentially put them over the top, I believe. Obviously, we're getting healthy too, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that we still need to address from a roster perspective. But I like the hiring a lot. Not because the guy, obviously he's Super Bowl champion, proven winner, but I was listening to the press conference, and they asked him a question about culture, and his response I thought was so great. I'm going to paraphrase it here because I don't have the quote, like the whole transcript in front of me. But he was mainly talking about, he's like, people talk about culture. He's like, what it is, it's just a collective mindset of everybody coming together to come and attack something the same way and to
Common
be
goal.
successful. A common goal is like everybody needs to love football the same way. Everybody wants to want to attack this thing the same way, to share the goal the same way. He's like, so it's not me that builds the culture. It's everyone that builds the culture. And he's like, and if we get players in here that don't align with the culture, then they don't belong here.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's exciting to hear. Number one, because I agree with that as far as of building the culture. It's not necessarily the leader that's like, this is what the culture needs to be. It really should be a collective process of everybody saying, this is how we want to get after it. Because that's how you get people to buy in. And so as a leader yourself, would you say you take a similar approach of trying to build culture, especially since you're in a newer situation where you had to bring a new team together?
To me, it's always just a reflection of my leadership. I feel like, right? It's like I want to win, but I want to win the right way. I'd rather lose the right way than win the wrong way, right? So establishing that, being consistent with my message and leading by example sets the tone of the culture. Now, obviously, you got to have the buy-in and wanting individuals that want to win the right way. So I think with that is really just goes into like the feedback and the support and the coaching that we consistently talk about throughout this show. So if I'm hard, bro, and I'm I have somebody in the locker room that's not adjusting to the culture and the mindset that I need, then we got to have conversations. Like, this might not be the best spot for you to be successful in. It's detrimental to not only yourself, but now your teammates and the rest of this organization. So, I mean, I think it stems really just from the leadership as a whole, right? And what John Harbaugh brings. And I think that a great leader will eventually, it will go into the bloodline of the rest of your team, if that makes sense. If you're looking for specific tactics, it's things like meetings, obviously, having those conversations. When you sit down with each player, because you know how they have the players come into the office and all that, and you talk about, all right, what does success look like for you? What does it look like for us to win, for you to develop, for you to improve, for you to get all pro, for you to maximize your contract when it comes up? And I think when you have those conversations, you create that buy-in of winning and that ultimate goal, which sets the tone for the culture. And then winning, once you start winning, I think, you know what? Diggs actually just had a great quote. He said the best thing he learned from Josh McDaniels is that he doesn't need to have the ball all the time. In fact, spreading the ball around leads to more success than he could imagine. I paraphrased right there, but it was along those lines of like being more of a team player played a bigger role in what he's been able to do, and obviously what we've been able to accomplish. I've been commending him all year for his mind shift.
Absolutely, and he's been a leader in that locker room, clearly. So there's a couple of things that you said that I wanted to comment on. One thing you said earlier in your statement was you'd rather lose the right way than win the wrong way. And I think that's so profound because even taking it back to what we do, I think we talked about this on a prior episode, which is when people win the wrong way, they build bad habits because they see that those bad habits are leading to what they feel is the successful outcome, right? Which is you got the win, you won your matchup, you hit your goal. But then if you're building bad habits, number one, it's hard to coach out bad habits, especially if they're proven that it's working. So that's one thing. And another thing I wanted to touch on that you said, which was team, because that was something that Harbaugh was talking about a lot, was like everybody has to be about team. It can't be about I. But then you went off to go talk about when they bring, individuals, whether it's you having a one-on-one with your folks or him bringing individual players and learning about each of the players. Like, hey, what's your goals for this season? Like, maybe you really care about making all pro. And my main goal is maybe I just came back from an injury. I just want to make it through all 17 games healthy, make an impact. If I make all pro, great, but that's not really what my goal is. I just want to have a healthy season. You know what I mean? Or I'm in a contract year. I want to maximize the amount of money I'm going to get up for, this season. Or, I have these incentives in my contract and this is what I'm trying to do. I got to play this many snaps or whatever it is. I think what that does is it helps the individual buy into the team because now as the leader, I know what motivates you. I know what's motivating you.
Correct.
To get you to, and I think that's what the leader needs to do is, all right, I'm responsible for bringing this group of individuals together because everybody, to your point, has individual goals. How can I make them all realize that their individual goal is going to be achieved easier if they buy into the concept of team, put in the team first? Because not only now, you're working on your goal, but then the girl next to you in football, the guy next to you knows what you're trying to go after too. So they want to help you get that. And then the person next to you wants to help you get that. So everybody wants to help everybody kind of deal.
Correct. And you know what it also does is you're able to identify leaders amongst them, right? Like that's why there is captains. So you can have leaders that are an extension of you and a voice that's aligned, that's helping push that culture.
Right. So I guess a follow-up question would be, we commend the Diggs move, right? That was a big move, but we know that there was some question marks around that move because of what Diggs potentially was in the past. There are some reports that maybe he wasn't the best locker room guy. Because, people hear what people say about them, right? And that can impact them. That can impact how they feel about themselves, what they think about themselves. And people can say, oh, they lack confidence. But if you hear something enough about yourself, you start to believe it. Because it's like so many people are saying the same thing, it must be true, right? How can you take somebody that maybe has this stigma or this perception that kind of floats around them? How do you bring them into a team and then really get them to turn around and then be that voice or be somebody that buys into the culture, helps drive it?
I've had so many of these situations, bro. It's like secondhand.
There you go.
So it's like, again, you have to have the real, genuine conversations with that individual. Look, we hear the noise. We know what the perception of you is. Do you believe that? And if you do, tell me why. Now that you told me why, how do we change that? Or is that who you want to be? And if that's who you want to be, then that's a whole nother conversation. But if you're telling me that's not who you are or who you want to be labeled as, you're in the right position. Because I was that same individual, right? Like, people looked at me a certain way. They counted me out.
Yep.
I said it last episode, I think it was like, it drives me to prove people wrong. So you're in the perfect place to prove people wrong. And not only are you going to do it, we're going to do it together. And this is how.
I love that. So then kicking it back to football, because we've talked about this individual before. And if you are the New England Patriots and say you fall short of winning the Super Bowl and A.J. Brown's available, you pulling the trigger? And let's say the asking price is right? Like they're not like, 3 first-round picks, right? It's something that's palatable.
Yeah. We talked about this. I'm doing that. You're getting an elite talent, and I am a firm believer in what I bring to the table as a leader, where I can get his buy-in. It's proven. I just did it with Stephon Diggs. You know what I mean? So like, you got a leader in Vrabel. If he could do it with him, why can't he do it with A.J. Brown? And you got a quarterback who can actually throw the ball, so it makes it easier. Easy. That's easy.
No, I love that. I love that we had that little conversation because, they talk about it in sports all the time that, especially in football, if you get the coach right and you get the quarterback right, you're almost there to exactly where you need to be competitive in football. It's like you're 80% of the way there. And you see the turnaround in New England right away. They already have the quarterback, but they needed the coach. You see the turnaround in Chicago, right? They had the quarterback, they needed the coach. You see the turnaround in Detroit over a certain amount of time that they had, right? Where they were just this abysmal franchise, but they got the quarterback and the coach. And so, yeah, it's so incredible because a lot of the sports that we see, you don't see the coaches out there, right? You see the players out there. They're player sports. That is what it is. But it's great to see when we have these little case studies of why the leadership is so important. Now, obviously, the Patriots were the biggest spenders in free agency, so they did a great job identifying and bringing in talent. But the biggest difference on the team is the man leading them.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that we're able to have that conversation, kind of talk about the power of leadership. And so I want to go back to Buffalo for a second because you just talked about how it's not attractive. Now I want Quan the person. Wouldn't you kind of almost relish an opportunity like that?
I would.
Where you know it's a challenge, be like, I can turn that, I can fix that shit.
I would. I personally would.
Okay, so tell me why.
The only thing is that the challenge isn't really the roster itself, although it is a challenge. Don't get me wrong.
Well, the
It's
challenge
more
is
about
that
the upper leadership.
The challenge is you have the second best quarterback in the division, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But the challenge is really the upper leadership because it's like you have to go through them, right?
Right.
A lot of decision making is through them. But even that, I've been in situations like that. And I actually was just on a call recently where it's like a true leader can speak up in times that they need to. Right? The problem is we say that and then McDermott did that and we see what happened with him. But the challenge is being able to do that